So the next activity is a video activity where students are going to guess different jobs. So there's a YouTube video which I attached at the bottom, but it's also in this tab here. It's called Jobs ESL Guessing Game. And we'll come to that in just a second. But I just want to show you all a really useful website which I found, which will allow you to download YouTube videos so that you don't have to rely on Wi-Fi in your classrooms. And this will allow you to save YouTube videos onto your laptop or onto your USB drive, and you can you don't need Wi-Fi in order to play them. So I'll just open a new tab. In fact, sorry, I will go to our Speaking Class Resources document, and in the general section, you can see a YouTube converter. So we click on the link. And so this is where you're going to paste your YouTube video. And to do that, we go back to your YouTube page. You click on the address bar, and you can either use your keyboard shortcut, Control and C, or right click on your mouse, copy, and right click on your mouse or Control V for paste. Click on convert, and then as you'll see, it will give you the chance to download the video. Click on download.
You're almost done.
And we can ignore this link, and at the bottom you'll see the file is downloaded. And you can also double check that by going to your downloads folder, wherever it might be, and you can see the video. And you can play this using Windows Media or using QuickTime or a VLC player, whichever video playing program you use on your computer. So that's a really useful tool which you can use for downloading videos that you might need for your class. The video itself is a guessing game, and I'm going to play it in just a second, but the idea here is that students are split into their groups and they have to guess which job the clues are showing. So we would stop here, and this is where you need to look at the video before. So all of the clues are there, and you want students to give the correct answer, which is nurse. And you would pause again so that students have the opportunity to think and talk in their groups and give you the correct answer. So we'll come back to our lesson plan. So you can decide how many points for correct answers. For example, you could say 1 point for the correct answer. So if a student said fireman or firewoman, and then maybe 3 points if they give a full answer, like it is a nurse, using full sentences. And so the next game, guess the family member. So the teacher will model this activity first, drawing a family member on the big whiteboard at the front of class, and drawing a picture of a family member doing their job, and try and get students to guess who the family member is and what their occupation is. And once you've done this modeling, students can split into their groups. They're given a little time to think about a family member, and then they'll draw that on their whiteboard. And each group will get a turn, and other groups will guess who the family member is and what their occupation is. Okay, and then we'd move on to the independent practice and the you do part of the lesson. And I showed you a little earlier on, this is going to be a survey activity. Survey activities are really useful for speaking classes because they allow students, they give students a bit of structure to their speaking, and it gives them an incentive to complete the activity properly. So as this activity is about jobs, you want to ask students which jobs they know, give them 2 minutes maybe to discuss in their groups, and write down which jobs they can think of on their mini whiteboards. And after that, you can give groups a chance to feedback to the front of the class. And using a graphic organizer, you can write down and perhaps draw the jobs on the whiteboard at the front of the class. And it's important to keep that on the whiteboard at the front of the class, as students will probably be looking in that direction when they're doing their surveys to have the vocabulary, the occupation-based vocabulary on display. And if you want an example again of graphic organizers, you can look at some of the webinars in the past that we've done on those. So the activity would be students asking 10 different students the occupation of a specific family member. So you have to, obviously as a teacher, you decide how much noise and disruption you want in the class, and make sure students are focusing on their task. So the questions we've said are a little bit, just scrolling down here, we've got 3 options of how to ask the question, and it's good to give students different options and not have them choose the same one all the time. So what is your mum's job? What is your grandfather's job? What is your sister's job? But using different types of language, like what does your brother do? Or what is your auntie's occupation? And likewise with the answers, we want a bit of variety, so students have the option of saying, my dad is a policeman, or my mum's occupation is social worker, or my sister's job is a bank manager, for example. So the basis for the 3 survey questions actually came from the speaking class resources list. So I'll click back on this tab. If you go to the people around us units, you can see there is a resource called Talking About Occupations, which has prompts, questions, and a role play which can be used to create speaking activities about jobs or about occupations. So we'll just click on the website. So with a lot of these resources, it's not ever going to be 100% ready-made for your lessons. You will have to do a little bit of adapting and taking what's relevant and ignoring what's not. And so some of these questions you'll see in asking about occupations, some of them are not necessarily the right level for your students. So what do you do for a living? What do you make for a living? What company do you work for? That's not going to be relevant to your students. And of course, your students aren't going to be working. And in this case, they're talking about their relatives or family members. So I took the bottom 3 questions: what's your job, what's your occupation, and what do you do? And with these 3 questions, you obviously change the tense, and sorry, you change it so that it's relevant for a family member rather than the student themselves, and you adapt it that way. So again, it's always important to adapt the resources that you find in the resource list and make sure they're relevant to your lesson. So now that we've reviewed the different resources that you can use, and we've looked at a lesson plan of an English speaking class, it would be really good practice for you all to go away and create a lesson plan of your own for your English speaking class. So the steps really, I would say, are look at the annual plan. The annual plan is the skeleton of your lesson plans, and using that you can create a lesson plan document in whichever folder is relevant to you, whether it's class 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7, and using the resource documents to look for and plan activities that are relevant to your class. Then write up your lesson plan, and I'm happy to provide feedback on those. And then we'll have a Q&A and workshop on the 28th of June. So it would be great if you could bring your lesson plans. I'll have some activities prepared for us to do in that workshop as well. And it would be really good to look at your lesson plans during that session and have some feedback and some discussion. So thank you so much for listening and for watching, and I hope it's been useful. Again, I'm happy to answer any questions and to provide feedback on your lesson plans. So good luck, and I hope the rest of your trainings go really well and that you have a brilliant new academic year. Thanks again for listening, everyone.